So I wake up. I'm at Con Bravo. I wake up. I'm rooming with my friend Andre Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy. Check him out. Very talented, very nice guy. We wake up. We're going through our phones. I'm half asleep, and Hulk Hogan's trending on Twitter. And usually at this point, if a wrestler is trending when there's no wrestling event going on,
That's bad.
It could be bad, but
It's
hey,
death.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking, please, Hogan, don't be dead. Don't be like Ultimate Warrior. Don't be like Randy Savage. So all we see is, I start seeing is that a link to, he's in trouble because of a radio interview he did a few years ago, where he's talking about Booker T talking about the famous dropping the N-bomb live on WCW.
Well, he
back
was
in, like,
also
94.
talking about being in the club and him being a dumb old white man, blurring the line between one person saying something to
Yes.
you and him being able to say it. But
It was like a naive, ignorant thing for someone to say, but it wasn't totally awful. And I'm thinking, this is strange that this is trending. Then I started to read more. Then you start to read that WWE has fired Hulk Hogan. I'm like, well, that's strange. Seems strange. They're firing him over a radio interview from 3 years ago that people knew about when it happened. So did people first find out about it? Why are they firing him over something that seems? It's not bad what he said. It's just sort of like, okay, he's just being naive and sort of ignorant.
He's dumb.
It was just it's a dumb thing. It wasn't malicious. But then I started reading more, and then I'm like, okay, now that they've taken WWE's taken his Hall of Fame profile off the website. Wow, did he kill someone? What's going on? Does he have a dog fighting ring? At Venice Beach that we don't know about? So it turns out, and this is one of the reasons why I guess Hogan, besides an invasion of privacy, which it is, he's gone off for Gawker Media for putting clips of the sex tape online, sex with his ex-friend Bubba the Love Sponge's, I hate awful radio names, wife Heather Clem, a sex tape from 2006 that went online, I believe, 2007 or 2008. Why he's going after Gawker Media more so is that he didn't want parts of the tape to come out because he had extremely
Awful.
racist tirades
Horrible.
on the tape.
Holy shit.
Like ones that when you can go online. I know we're in I hate to use a phrase, but some people do look at it as an outrage culture overall, and you can say there are overreactions to some things some people say. This is one of those cases though where I don't think you can defend it at all, and no one's really defended it, where it's like,
No, I never had a high profile view of Hogan to begin with, but
No.
now he's shit on the bottom of my shoe.
so basically what Hulk Hogan, I guess, after having sex on the sex tape, and these are transcripts that were leaked out. This is bad for Gawker and Hogan, obviously, because
It's bad for both of them.
this is Hogan's suing Gawker for $100 million, and so the contents of this sex tape, there was like a minute or two that were released online, like six years ago or so, but the rest of it hadn't been released, and the judge sealed the contents of this tape so it wouldn't be made public. So someone leaked out a transcript of what Hogan said in this sex tape somehow, even though the judge sealed it. And in this tirade, he's talking about his daughter,
Was
Brooke.
it leaked or was it unsealed in
It wasn't-
relation to the okay,
No,
okay.
It's not unsealed. This is like serious how this got
Okay.
out. This is fuel to Hogan's fire for the lawsuit. We'll get to that.
No,
okay,
yeah.
So
that's-
he's talking about his daughter Brooke being backed by a billionaire N-word, and then talking about his daughter not wanting to see his daughter with racial epithet times 1,000, and then going
Racial epithets were running wild, brother.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
all
just-
over the fucking place. Like
just-
7 or 8 times.
just it's not even like one of those things that you could, it's not even like a Donald Sterling thing where he's just a guy out of touch and concerned about how his friends are looking at him. This is worse than that. This is just this isn't even like just naivety or prejudice from a guy that's 80 years old. This is just out and out malicious
Racism.
hate.
Yeah.
Where it's a level above that. So I guess WWE is saying, whoa, we don't want any part of this, which is funny just because I'd watch them that Monday or Tuesday on being a tough enough judge. So Nintendo released Nintendo. Well, Nintendo and WWE, they're both huge and make bad decisions. Nintendo releases them. WWE releases them with a statement saying, we're all for diversity, blah, 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 and release them. And so you can look at this from multiple angles. But first, Hogan's basically going to put Gawker out of business at this point. If he didn't have a court case before about them leaking this tape, now he's going to add termination. because they released this tape, and the fact that they basically ruined my life and my career. Gawker potentially could be gone, and with that, you have all their several websites, including good old Kotaku, could be wiped off the earth, and that's a real possibility. But that's a whole other conversation. I mean, there's no good way for WWE to have handled this, but I will say this. It's hard to eliminate the guy that's responsible for your company being where it is entirely. To totally say he doesn't exist anymore is a little over the top to remove him from your entire website. You can say we eliminate him, he won't be in the video game anymore, we're not going to produce any toys, we're not going to market him, we're not going to make any money off him, but to say he is worse than guys we have in the Hall of Fame that pretty much allegedly but may have killed people, that to me is a little over the top. It's because it's not like you're going to go on WWE.com and because Hogan's not there anymore, you don't realize he exists still. It's not like you can't go on the WWE Network and watch WrestleMania 3 and watch the most famous moment in pro wrestling history. You know, so this is a strange sort of reaction, but I understand that why they did it, but it's like, really? You had to, like, erase everything about the guy?
I have a slightly different take. I mean, but I did see a fairly funny picture.
So did I. After probably the same one you saw.
After the whitewashing, when it was like the greatest moment in wrestling history ever, Andre the Giant tripping over himself for the 3 count.
And it's a Photoshop, a great Photoshop of Hogan being eliminated from WrestleMania 3 with the body slam.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. My thing is this. I don't disagree with the WWE wanting to distance themselves from this piece of shit as fast as they possibly can.
Sure.
I agree with you that eliminating him is not really going to eliminate him from anyone's mind.
It's impossible.
In terms. However, this is what really chaps my ass. And it's not that Hogan's gone. What bothers me is that they chose to get rid of Hogan, yet they allowed a homophobic, bigoted, racist piece of shit motherfucker like the Ultimate Warrior into their Hall of Fame just last year.
Sure. Well, and you can make that argument that a lot of the people in the Hall of Fame were awful, or in the Ty Cobb in the Baseball Hall of Fame, who was a KKK member basically.
Yeah.
You know, so what is your Hall of Fame then? Is it for your performance, or is it for your personality and who you are as a person? And WWE has to decide that, and by what you just said, they're basing it, which you could argue is most importantly how you performed in the ring. Because,
well, by that standard, the fucking Ultimate Warrior shouldn't be in there anyways, and neither should Hogan.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
whatever.
Though. Yeah. How are you judging it? Because people say, Pete Rose shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he gambled, but he has the most hits of all time. But he was slimy and gambling on baseball.
Yeah.
So how are you judging it? How's your Hall of Fame? Because there's some Hall of Fames that say in particular, we don't give a shit about them as a person. It's what they did in the sport themselves.
Sure.
And while it's not the exact same as, say, Tom Hanks acting in a role, you have to understand that pro wrestling is, and you're putting on an act. So can you separate Hulk Hogan, the performer, versus Terry Bollea, the individual? And that's a whole other conversation. Now, it's a little
on the art versus artist conversation we had, and
it's a little harder.
Tough.
It's a little harder when it's pro wrestling, just because when it's a pro wrestler, it's a larger extension of the person versus an actor who's totally playing someone else. When you're acting as a pro wrestler, but you're using a guy like Hulk Hogan is using his natural personality. The best pro wrestlers use their natural personality, whether it's Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. Those are the wrestlers you remember the most. Not the guy who's pretending to be a garbage man, or a guy who's pretending to be a clown. Those are the guys, we remember them, but you remember the guys where it's the personality and the person themselves.
Sure.
That's the guy we like.
I wish I could have a more nuanced opinion on this, but I fucking hate Hulk Hogan. I've always hated fucking Hulk Hogan, so bye. Yeah,
it's not shocking he's like this. I will say this, though, and he's admitted it even before this came out, that this was an extremely low point in his life. This was when
oh, really? Sleeping with your best friend's wife and then going on a racist tirade is not the high point?
Well, the friend wanted him to have sex with the wife. It was a setup to tape him, which is shitty in of itself. We can look at this from a lot of angles where it's a little... obviously, the horse is out of the barn, but it always bothers me when something that happens in private comes out publicly and it's used against a person, because for that to happen to someone, if something happened to me or people I know, where people say shit in private all the time that you don't want out there, to be judged by it for the entire world to affect you is it's crappy for it to happen. It just is. Like I said, the horse is out of the barn. It's out there. You have to go by what happened.
You don't want people to know your secrets, but if this is who you are, I'm not going to also feel particularly bad for you being outed as a racist or a murderer or whatever the fuck it is that you're being outed for.
There's a big difference between murderer and racist, but I'll get to that in a second too. Because if the WWE is gonna take out Hogan, then they better take out a lot of history of racism that happened inside
the company.
Inside the company, because Hogan never did anything racist inside the company.
Plenty of other wrestlers did, though.
That's what I'm going to get to. So Roddy Piper doing half blackface at WrestleMania, 7 or 8, versus facing what the hell, Bad News Brown.
Yes,
stuff like that. DX going in blackface to make fun of the Nation Domination during the Attitude Era.
Or what about the absolutely fantastic and unforgettable...
The McMahon?
The fucking usage of Sho Funaki and Taka Michinoku and Val Venus, the whole choppy your pee-pee angle from... I mean, who could forget that gold?
That's one. That's another one. McMahon dropping the N-bomb live on SmackDown in front to John Cena.
Yeah.
And then Booker T looks at him like he didn't just say that. So we're talking, this is racist stuff, again, inside your organization that's part of your product. What Hogan did was on his own free time. So if you're going to make that judgment against them, you got to make a stronger judgment against what you've done yourself. And I'm not even talking about ethnic caricatures, because that's been a part of wrestling forever, and that's a way to draw heat. You can say it's bad or good, but that goes back to just how wrestling was always marketed. You had your Italian groups that went for the Italian wrestler, your Portuguese groups went for your Portuguese wrestlers. That's just how wrestling's always been marketed to draw in the crowd. But we're talking stuff that happens in the 90s and 2000s that's not acceptable, and even then it was like kind of uncomfortable, but now you'd get skewered for. How about the fake gay wedding they had with Billy Gunn and Chuck, whatever his last name was, where even Glad put out a statement supporting it, and then they realized it was all a ruse, and then Billy Gunn's like, you think I'm gay? And then throwing down the flowers.
Yeah.
How about Jerry Lawler back in, I think, 94, calling Goldust homo, sexual, but a worse term.
Yeah.
This is stuff that happened again. Product on TV.
No.
So you.
Well, So I agree with you there. And this is beyond Hogan. This is no longer a defense.
No, this is no longer.
I mean, fuck Hogan. We're all on board with that. This is more of a criticism of the WWE. But I think that what you're saying is true. But I also think that's why they were so quick to burn the bridge.
Because they don't do that anymore.
Because it's the PG era, and they need to eliminate any remembrance of that stuff as quickly as they can. But which is why I think they went... No, I know they can't. But I think that's why they were so quick to eliminate him as quickly as they possibly could. I'm not saying that it atones for the sins of their past, and I'm not saying it's going to work in the way they want it to, but that's why they did it.
I'll just go back to real quick about when this was going on with Hogan. Like he has admitted during this time that he was suicidal. And this isn't excusing him, but this was a pretty shitty point for him in his life. So it's something that happened 9 years ago.
Well, that would have been when he was breaking up with his wife, right?
Probably around there. I'm not sure when his son hit the guy. That's why Hogan's a piece of trash too, because after his son Nick, paralyzed someone in an accident, there's conversations that came out where they were talking about, oh, when I get out of prison, Dad, you can get me on a reality show to talk about this, right? And we're like, oh yeah, you can. That to me is
gross,
fucking disgusting. And that was, I think it was a veteran too that was paralyzed. It was just terrible. The whole thing was just
reading that.
Terrible.
Nothing you ever hear about Hogan outside of the fucking
he's a
ring
disgusting individual.
Yeah.
So again, this doesn't surprise me, but again, going back to other stuff that's happened in WWE, the firing of Del Rio, what was it, earlier this year or last year, after he slapped a guy who said something allegedly racist against Latinos, and then Del Rio slapped him, then got fired for that. Mark Henry having problems of racism, reporting that inside the company, other black wrestlers. So again, this is stuff happening in your company.
Yep.
Not a guy on a sex tape that was had his rights violated with the hidden camera. This is stuff in your company. Clean that shit up, and then when you do this stuff, it's more readily acceptable to me for you to say, "Oh, we're going to distance ourselves from this awfulness when we have our awfulness already still here."
I believe your penance a lot more if this stuff isn't already happening.
Thank you very much. This doesn't. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's at will employment, and like I said, Hogan doesn't sound like a great individual anyway. But yeah, clean up your own house first before you do this, and then just leave his freaking profile on the website. That's just weird to do that. That's almost like overcompensating, and then it brings more attention to it.
Well, Chris Benoit killed his entire family and killed himself, and I mean his matches are still on the network. I mean, that's awful. And I mean, I don't know. Does he have a profile on the WWE website? I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Again,
once again. I understand why they eliminated it. It's not going to magically erase from people's mind. This is not the Eternal Sunshine. It's not going to work in that way.
It's not going to work.